Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our weekly investor update. I'm your host, Dan Theok, Senior Vice President of Investment Banking. We're happy to be back for another investor update. And joining me today is none other than Junior Roberts, Investment Advisor, and my co-host for today. Welcome, Junior.
Thank you, Dan.
Great to have you back. Today we're discussing Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited and Caribbean Cement Company Limited, and we're excited to share some invaluable insights with you guys. If you like the content, don't forget to hit the like button and to share this video. And if this is your first time here, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to receive all future notifications. We upload content just like this just about once a week. Also, if you want to embark on your very first investment journey, you should take that first step with Mayberry. Follow us on social media to learn more about how you can get started today. Okay, first up, we're going to look at CFF, and that'll be presented by Junior. What do you have for us, Junior?
All right, so let's jump into the financials year ending December 31st for CFF. So on screen, you'll see a comparison between last year, December 23 and 2022. So we have revenues up by 17% to $900 million. Cost of sale also went up by 6%. We have our total expenses up by 17% year over year, and a net profit of a whopping 115% increase. Earnings per share also increased by a 115%. The improvement in sales was driven by the continuous refinement of the sales approach and strategy, which had a direct focus on closing new business deals, availing new products to various partners, and the deepening of sales strategy in the various markets that CFF serves. On screen, you're seeing the graph movement from 2021 for each quarter. You can see that we had a very strong Q4 2023, but just please note that for each year from 2021 through to 23, Q2 has shown that it's their strongest quarter. So we'd love to know what is happening over there in Q2, but the history is showing that Q2 is their strongest earning potential. Looking at the market movement, we see here that we have a current price closing yesterday at $1.62, a PE ratio of 10.97 times, right, which also gives us a 52-week high of $1.92 and a 52-week low of $1.03. The current junior market average PE is about 16 times, so it's a clear indication that CFF is a good buy at this point, something to add to your portfolio. So for our first-time viewers, just a brief company overview. CFF was listed on the junior market in October of 2013, and we brokered that deal. Their primary registered location is on Spanish Town Road in Kingston. The company's principal activity involves manufacturing and distribution of flavors, mainly for beverages, baking, and the confectionery industry. CFF also manufactures and distributes fragrances for general household cleaning products as well as for sanitation purposes. In January of 2017, Diamond Trading Limited, detailed for short, increased its stake from 49% to 75%, resulting in CFF being a subsidiary of DTL Group, and we also brokered that merger deal. Now in 2024, last October, we would now see that CFF would have done a 10-year time span on the junior market, which would result in 100% tax remission expiring, and consequently, they are now subjected to pay full tax, right? So it's interesting to see how the company progresses from this point onward, which is another great benefit of being on the junior market, that 10-year tax remission. So if you consider looking at the history from listing of CFF to current, the IPO price at listing was $2.25, which closing yesterday at $1.62 would mean that there is an 8-fold increase in the growth of the stock, given that they had a 10-to-1 split over the period. So definitely a good buy. Any take on that, Dan?
Absolutely another one. It's another IPO that we helped to list, and I want to give a special big up to Anon James, who was the principal of that business, family friend of mine and of Mayberry, and a big up to the guys at Dermont, who we also assisted in that M&A transaction when they made that acquisition. So this is another great story of a company that listed, has delivered, has grown, revenues almost up to $1 billion. And this stock, had you bought it at IPO or shortly thereafter and held it for this period, would now be up 8 times, eightfold over your initial investment. It would also be remiss if I didn't comment on the budget yesterday and Minister Clark announcing that the junior tax threshold for companies listing is going to be moved from $500 million to $750 million. So we're excited about that here at Mayberry because that means we're going to have a lot more junior market listings. We've got quite a few in the pipeline. We've been waiting on this increase. Thank you, Minister Clark and team. Look forward to some great IPOs from Mayberry going forward. But CFF, great company, growing well, turning the largest profit I've seen in the last 3 years. And so this is a perfect example of what the junior market was meant to do, to help companies get started, get on solid grounds, grow, and then contribute back to the budget by paying full taxes. So great job to the guys over at CFF and to Detail. We look forward to seeing this continue to do well. 10 times PE, I think it's still a good buy. We see the business still growing. So I think this is a good one to have in your portfolio. Great company, very well positioned in the marketplace in terms of providing flavors for all of these drink manufacturers, food flavoring, etc. It's a great company. So I like it. I think you should go and get some if you can. Well, thanks for that, Junior. Appreciate that. Up next, let's move over to Carib Cement. And now this is another great story, Carib Cement. Really happy to see the results here for the year ended December 2023. So first up, revenues up 7% to $27.7 billion. Cost of sales up by 13%. They mentioned having some challenges in Q1 when they were doing their major maintenance to the plant, and that impacted the profitability in Q1 and the overall gross profit. So 7% growth in sales, but a marginal fall in gross profit to $11.3 billion. Total operating expenses up by 6%, moving in line with the growth in revenues. Operating profit, therefore, fell marginally by 6% to $7.4 billion. But we see because they've now pretty much eliminated all of their debt, finance costs are down 67% to $193 million. And the pre-tax profit was pretty much the same as last year at $7.2 billion. And the final net profit to shareholders was up by 4% to $5.57 billion. So great job to Carib Cement. Now, I don't need to tell you the background of Carib Cement. I only need to tell you that they're the monopoly supplier of cement in Jamaica, and there are quotas that protect them, so only a limited amount of cement can be imported into the country. And Carib Cement's in a great industry, construction, which is clearly booming, and you can see also in the budget debate the government's commitment towards increasing capital expenditure, improving on infrastructure and development throughout the country. So there's no doubt in my mind, if you look at all of the cranes around the country, all of the construction, all of the high-rises, you will appreciate that construction requires cement. So I think it's a great industry. They continue to grow their revenues, continue to remain very profitable, and here we see the business turning a profit of $5.57 billion. Total assets up by 10% to $33 billion, with them now having $4 billion cash. So at the end of December 2022, they only had $500 million of cash and some debt, and now they have zero debt and $4 billion cash, so definitely moving in the right directions. We look forward to seeing them increasing their dividends. Dividends last year was up from $1.2 billion in 2022, one of the first years that they returned to paying dividends, grew to $1.6 billion for 2023. We saw the last dividend being declared in August 2023, and I definitely expect to see stronger dividends going forward. We expect some capex to improve infrastructure, but this is a business that should be able to increase their dividend payout ratio to 20%, 25%. So we look forward to seeing increased dividends and continued growth from Carib Cement. Now, it's not all Milk and honey. We noted previously our concerns about the franchise fees and the fact that the parent company is extracting some profits from the business in the form of franchise fees. And we saw those royalties at $500 million for the year, which is approximately 2% of sales, but 9% of the profit. So we do hope that they go easy with the royalties and try to be fair to all shareholders. But all in all, great company at $5.5 billion profit. Stock price now up to $56. PE at 8.6 times. So obviously undervalued. I think good valuation for Carib Cement would be at least 10 times. So it's 15% undervalued. And as interest rates trend back down in the second half of the year, we expect to see the main market average moving from 10 times back to 12 times. So relative to 12 times, it's 45% undervalued. So I believe this is a stock that will be back at $80 in the next 12 to 15 months. And so it's definitely a great buy if you can get it for under $60 in our view. Great company doing very well in a good industry that's only poised for growth. Next slide shows the profitability by quarters. As I mentioned previously, we saw the bad performance in Q1 of last year, primarily because of that major maintenance work that was going on. Since they got that out of the way, you can see the run rate has improved substantially, with them doing well over $1 billion in each quarter since. So it'll be interesting to see what their performance is like in Q1 2024, because we've seen this trend of them doing major maintenance every 12 to 18 months and how it impacts profitability. If they don't have any challenges in Q1 2024, then you can tell the trailing earnings is going to improve substantially, perhaps by $1 billion, which would drive that PE from 8 times to 6 times and make it an even more attractive buy. So I look forward to seeing performance in the next quarter. Looking at the stock price, again, I said from a PE perspective and a growth perspective, I really think this is an $80 stock. And you can see that in the last 2 years, the stock has had a high of about $86, a low of $51. And so I think we will have no challenges seeing that stock price getting back to $80 going forward. So it's a buy for me. Strong company doing exceptionally well with revenues headed towards $30 billion. And in my view, this is only going to get better over the next decade as Jamaica focuses on infrastructure development. Junior, your thoughts?
Absolutely, Dan. I mean, so for those who probably had this stock at the $86 high, now is a good time to buy more of the units at a cheaper rate because you're getting it now discounted. So if it was good for you to buy at 86, it's definitely great for you to buy at 56. And that principle would be the averaging down principle to increase the size of your portfolio. So I love everything. The vitals of the company is good. It's definitely a go.
Yeah, I like it. Fourth largest holding in my portfolio. My average price is actually $22, but I still keep buying it because I want to support the stock, and I do believe it's going to get back to $80. So I'm a buyer at anything under $60, and I'm a seller perhaps when it gets to $100. So I like it. I think two good companies, one big, one relatively small, but both great companies. So there you go, folks. Whether you want to spend $56 to get some Carib Cement or $1.60 to get some CFF, I think they're both good buys. Well placed in the market, good management, well-run entities, and that's what we look for when we're making recommendations on entities we think you should buy. They're in a good industry, they're well-positioned, they got great management, and the stock is relatively cheap. When we see those four things, it's definitely a buy from our perspective. Well, that's it for today's discussions. I'd like to thank our viewers as usual for tuning in. Your support is always appreciated. I'd also like to thank my co-host and panelists for joining us today. Junior, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Always great to have you. If you're curious about our updates on our Virtual Investor Forum, then find us on social media. We share our live stream dates and our upcoming guests on our official social media pages. Give us a follow and stay on top of all things forum related. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mayberry Investments Limited, and click the bell to receive all future notifications. Keep safe, folks, and remember, wise investors, slow and steady wins the race. Goodbye.